Welcome to Sensible Health Solutions, the show where we simplify health and wellness. Join your hosts, Hallie Fields and Dr. Scott Luper, as they share practical tips and expert insight to help you navigate common ailments, nutrition, and overall well-being. Tune in for straightforward advice that empowers you to live a healthier life.
Hello, Haley.
Hello, Dr. Luper. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Well, we've covered a lot about fatigue and the different causes of fatigue, and something we haven't really touched on is mood and how that might be affecting fatigue. I know right now in Fairbanks, Alaska, we are enduring some of the darkest days of the year as we approach winter solstice. And so I want to get more into the weeds of how that might be affecting your fatigue levels and your energy levels.
So this mood thing is real. You know, when you ask me about mood and fatigue, the first thing that comes to mind for me is suck it up, Buttercup. That's the wrong approach.
Well, that is so generational of you to even say.
Seriously, no. What happens here is most people think, okay, you get a mood, then you got to go do something to get out of your mood and whatever, or you think you're going to take something to get out of your mood. But very few people really try to stop and think like, well, where is this mood coming from? Is it just me? Is it my situation? Is it that I ate something funny? Too many French fries or not enough green beans?
Well, we're talking about a mood that lasts longer than a few nights or days. It has to me, it would be something that might be ongoing for like a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Right. What we're looking at is a pattern. And really the key thing to look at with these mood problems is, does your mood fit your situation? Because if it does, then there's no problem. If your mood doesn't fit your situation, so there's a disconnect. If you're really sad, and your dog died, right, or your cat died, and now you have a reason to be sad, and you just go through, the process, right?
Yeah, grieving.
Whereas if there's nothing has died, there's nothing wrong here whatsoever, and yet I feel blue, I feel tired, I feel blah, I feel horrible. That happens commonly. In fact, you mentioned Fairbanks. We have some of the highest percentage of seasonal affective disorder of anywhere in the country, probably anywhere in the world.
Yeah. And anybody north of us, even southeast of us, Ketchikan, with how much cloud coverage they have.
They get more sun than we do, but they get less sun than we do because they're in the clouds so often.
Right.
The sun is blocked so much. And you're right, that's exactly right. So there's an actual physical mechanism. It's not just, I miss the sun and it's kind of a sad time of year. No, there's literally a real thing going on that affects your mood that you can be aware of and you can fix. And with seasonal affective disorder, for a long time, nobody just knew what it was. They had no idea. Doctors and researchers were just guessing all kinds of stuff. Vitamin D was a leading possibility because if you look at vitamin D levels, where the seasonal affective disorder is the highest, tends to be where vitamin D levels are the lowest. So the correlation was really close. But correlation is not causation. Turns out vitamin C really doesn't have that much to do with seasonal affective disorder.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D.
Not vitamin C.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to say vitamin D. You're right. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Last show. I have to get my head straight. What really is going on here is dopamine. It's not just dopamine alone. It's catecholamines in general.
So it's a neurotransmitters issue.
Absolutely. So catecholamines are the neurotransmitters that help us feel alert, aware of what's going on, engaged. So there's certain brightness. And when catecholamine levels run low, what you get is the blahs. You get tired, but you get disengaged. You don't really care. It's harder to get into it. If you're going to work, you just want to stay home.
You don't feel the motivation?
Yeah, it's ennui is another way to describe it. Yeah, you just don't want to do it. You'd rather not. You get this ennui feeling. And so it's real. I mean, it actually does happen, and it's absolutely treatable. You can get your dopamine levels to go up, and then you feel better. So now the question is how you get dopamine levels to go up. And the answer is there's lots of ways to do it. there's things you could take, but let's talk about things you could just do. If you can put yourself into a situation where you're being challenged physically, particularly if there's a little danger involved.
Controlled chaos.
Yeah, controlled chaos. My little boy did a birthday party recently, and he spent 45 minutes in the dodgeball area at the trampoline park. That would be perfect.
Yes.
You have people throwing things vigorously at you as you're ducking and dodging.
Right?
Yeah. And into that, boy, your dopamine levels are going to be skyrocketing high.
So you need to create small goals to then accomplish to increase dopamine levels?
Yes. Yes, you're right. Because the people who are least likely going to want to go to the trampoline park are going to be people who are having the blahs.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't want to go. So what you're going to have to do is you have to recognize the pattern and go, oh, here I am doing my pattern.
Yeah.
And then, I don't necessarily want to, this is not my best version of myself that I can imagine, right? Can we do something else? The answer is yeah. Why don't we do something interesting? And on Thursday nights, we're going to go to the trampoline park.
And play dodgeball with a bunch of 8-year-olds.
You can also just jump into the ball pit, right? Or just bounce up and down on the trampoline. Just keep it simple. You don't have to engage in...
Okay, so if that's too much, if there are people out there listening that might not be, wanting to go to the trampoline park and surround themselves with kids, then what are other examples that would increase those dopamine levels?
Yeah, you tell me. I realize that the trampoline park is like the lamest example I could possibly think
you're
of.
just coming up with something that's most recent for you. We've talked a lot about cold showers. We've talked a lot about
yes.
That
they stimulate you.
Stimulate you.
Yep, absolutely.
Exercise.
Exercise. That's it.
Yeah.
Whatever. Forget
Going
the
for a
trampoline
walk.
park. Yes. Very much so.
If you want to be really challenging in Fairbanks, Alaska, instead of pressing your auto start, you can go outside and manually start
your car.
Yeah. You can make your bed in the morning.
You can. That'll work too. That'll help.
And so completing these small tasks for yourself build the confidence and produce the dopamine because you've accomplished these things. And then you can start small, and then you can go bigger.
Yep.
So instead of starting your car every morning manually, you can say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym now and walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. See, you're better at this than I am.
This is where I like to learn. This is what I like to do, what I like to think about. So. Yeah,
you have a better sense of the baby steps. I'm a better sense of here's the big picture, let's just whack it, right?
Right.
Now, the interesting thing about this conversation you and I are having about seasonal affective disorder is what are we into this thing? 10 minutes into it? Something like that?
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned light once. Because we know seasonal affective disorder, the treatment is you get a light and you shine it in your face. So, Dr.
I don't know.
How does that fit?
Is that super effective, though? I've heard mixed reviews, the happy light not being as effective.
Yes. Is it not as effective as...
And is happy light...
Going to exercise? Absolutely.
Right.
Not as effective.
Happy light, blue light?
Yes.
Okay, and then what are we doing with our phones all the time? We are intaking blue light constantly.
Yes.
From our computer monitors and our cell phones. So I don't know if that is...
So here's the thing. The light does actually help because if the sun is outside...
Sunlight is different from artificial light.
My spirits go up.
Yeah.
We work here on the 3rd floor of our building, downtown Fairbanks. And so there's this huge window over here. And so when the sun comes out, I'm bathed in light.
Right.
And my mood goes up because I think, wow, this is great.
Oh, no, I love that sunrise.
I want to do something. I want to do something today because I can feel it, right?
Right.
So if you can get that light coming in and you feel a lift from it, it is absolutely effective.
And that makes sense because every day around 10:30 a.m. when that sun rises, I itch to go skiing. But when 4 o'clock comes around and it is pitch black outside, all of my motivation to go skiing is dead.
There it is. You hit your nail right on the head. That's seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah.
Your motivation even to do it to begin with goes down because it's dark and it's funky and it's cold and whatever you come up with reasons. It's just that you took the dial and you just went, turned it down.
So I would think the more important aspect of the light is the vitamin D. And are we getting vitamin D from our blue light from our monitors and our cell phones?
No,
exactly.
No, we're not. We're not. So one of the things that's helpful with this is to consider the possibility that morning light is not necessarily what you need. Because you mentioned, is it effective? The answer is, for most people, morning light is the light that wakes you up, gets you going. And also, you pour a cup of coffee and start drinking coffee, and that also picks you up. Now, why? Why would coffee help in that same situation? And the answer is because caffeine mimics the effect of catecholamines.
Mm-hmm.
Catecholamines are caffeine-like molecules that we make ourselves that are in our body.
That give us the get up and go.
That lift us up and give us focus. So caffeine mimics that. It doesn't hit it exactly. You get some weird side effects where your heart rate goes funny, but it mimics it close enough that you get a lift and you're ready to go out and do stuff. Now, like other drugs, it's a peak and then it comes back down and it leaves you flat. So it's got some pluses and some minuses.
But if you keep chugging that coffee,
I love coffee. I don't drink it every day because I don't want to be addicted to it.
Yeah.
So I don't drink it. Like I didn't have any coffee today because it's Monday. I don't drink coffee on Mondays.
No, you're a very regimented Tuesday coffee drinker.
Tuesday morning coffee drinker. Yeah. So and I like the feeling of coffee. I like that lift. But I try to find other ways to get it, not just depend on coffee alone. The other thing that's interesting is, for me, a happy light is actually helpful, but it's more helpful in the afternoon than it is in the morning.
Okay.
If in the afternoon I get a blast of light, bright light in my eyes for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that, which is one of the nice things about having the windows right here, I pick up. And I'm thinking, we should do something tonight. I don't want to stay home, right?
Yeah.
Let's go do something. I get that feeling. So now I want our listeners to understand that the problem here is your catecholamine levels are too low, dopamine being the key one. And what you need to do is get your dopamine levels to go up. Now, one of the most powerful things we can do to bring up our dopamine levels is to go do things that put us in a small amount of danger and that engage us physically. So if you were to get to join a volleyball league, that would be fabulous. Because, wow, the ball's coming at me, right? Now you're into it, right? And there are these adult leagues. I have a diabetic patient, and she loves volleyball. It's so fun. Her girlfriends are all out there doing it. She just absolutely lights up. It helps immensely with her blood sugar control. Her mood goes up. Meaning and purpose to life comes up. It turns out to be a super, super, super important thing for her to do. So that's just something you can consider is engaging in some sort of league. By the way, going and do things with people, that'll raise your dopamine levels up.
Yeah, connection. So
Square dancing classes.
Contra dancing. One neurotransmitter, we're talking about catecholamines, we're talking about dopamines. We haven't touched on serotonin yet.
Yeah, we should. We should talk about serotonin. Okay, the one more thing about the dopamine is that dopamine is made from tyrosine. Yes, I'm just mentally giving it straight. Tyrosine. And so if you take tyrosine, then it's easier for your body to make dopamine. You get the dopamine levels go up.
So as
tyrosine
a
you can buy in a pill.
Yeah.
So 500 milligram capsule. You do a couple of capsules a day, and your tyrosine levels will go up, and you feel it. It doesn't take long to be able to tell. You can usually tell within half hour, 45 minutes whether it's going to work or not. If we really, really, really want to get people's dopamine levels up, what we'll give them is a Mucuna parens. It's velvet bean powder. We buy it by the kilo. And the bean powder has a precursor to dopamine. It's called L-Dopa, naturally occurring in the powder already. You have to be careful with it, though, because if you take too much, you make your blood pressure go low. And so we're bordering on kind of, strong herbs, kind of a drug effect. And so I mentioned that last, not as a thing to do. All the other stuff we mentioned is what you would actually do. This one is if you want to go to the doctor, you've done all that, and somehow or other you got a breakdown here and your system's not working well enough.
Yeah.
Your depression is profound, and you need to do something else. Then there's this other thing we can come in with a bigger hammer and whack it harder to get it to bust out. So, serotonin.
Yeah, what does it feel like when your serotonin's low?
It's similar to the dopamine, but you don't get the blahs so much. You get the I don't cares. Now, blahs are like
the apathy.
Yeah, and like whatever. You get the I don't care, whatever. And also you tend to literally just be sad. That's the other thing. You tend to just kind of see the world through sad eyes. And you tend to be very sensitive to things happening, and you overreact.
Quick to anger, quick to crying.
Everything. Yeah, crying especially.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. So you're watching TV, and there's this commercial comes on with the little bear, and the bear is selling dryer softener sheets, and you cry when you see that bear.
That would be low serotonin?
Yeah.
So when you're pregnant, do you have low serotonin?
You could. It's possible.
Huh.
But yes.
Okay.
That's one of the things that happened. That's if we were suspicious as to what it would be, that's one of the things that it would show up as.
Okay.
Now, we all know what you do if you got low serotonin. It's easy. You go to the doctor, they put you on an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And what that does is it takes what little serotonin you have, traps it between the neurons. So it's not reuptake. You got neuron 1, neuron 2, serotonin's released, goes across the little gap. Whoop, now we're happy, right? Because it's carrying the information through. There's a thing. And while it's there, things are being stimulated. Things are popping. Now, once it gets reabsorbed back for use later, you got to suck it up. Now you have none. Now you're in a blah land. So you can block that reuptake and just force it to stay in the middle. You will feel better for a while. The problem is that the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors don't really fix anything. They kind of force it biochemically, and it'll work for a year or two. I mean, you get a help
but
for a while.
it doesn't produce more
No.
serotonin.
No, negatory.
So how do you get your body to produce more serotonin?
Same thing we talked about before. You want to jiggle it.
Okay.
Same thing with the dopamine. What you want to do is you want to provide the precursor. In this case, it's tryptophan, which again is another amino acid. Tyrosine's an amino acid. Tryptophan's an amino acid. They both start with a T. They both turn into neurotransmitters. You do 1,000 milligrams of this, 500 milligrams twice a day, or 1,000 milligrams twice a day, and let nature take its course.
That won't make you sleepy, though. I always say here, tryptophan makes you tired.
Well, it can make you tired, and the reason why it's real straightforward is because tryptophan turns into 5-hydroxytryptophan, and
5-HTP.
5-HTP, and 5-HTP turns into serotonin, and serotonin turns into melatonin.
Oh, there it is.
So there's the connection all the way down. And so if you're piling up on the melatonin side, yeah, you can. I don't know, tired is the right word. I think what's happening is your body's recognizing you want to sleep because you've been running too hard, doing whatever, overwhelm. And honestly, what people actually describe this as is overwhelm. I feel overwhelmed. I feel I have too many things going on. I can get my energy up and to do these things like for students. The midterms are coming. I do fine. After midterms, I'm wasted. Or after finals, I'm wasted. And that's usually what I see. There's an overlap here with every other cause of fatigue.
Yeah, there is.
We talked about particularly the adrenal part,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
You can see the connection there. So a lot of the treatments are the same, but the mechanisms are different. It's not the same mechanism. We can have people that have adrenal fatigue that don't have a serotonin problem, and vice versa. People who have a serotonin problem don't have a adrenal problem. Though in reality, they mostly overlap.
Yeah.
All right. So let me summarize again. If your serotonin is low, you get the blahs feeling. You get oversensitive to stuff, which is also another weird thing about this. And basically, just you'd self-report as being depressed is what you do. And so you're not really wanting to do the neurotransmitter blocker, the reuptake blocker, or you've done it. You run it all the way through.
But you still feel
and yeah, what happens is you'll take it and it works for
a little
2 years. Yay! Except for now it's not working anymore.
Or it's causing other side effects.
Well, what the doctor will do mostly is what they'll do is they'll increase your dosage. And then you'll feel better for a while. Maybe get another 6 months out of it. Maybe 9 months, a year.
Maybe not even that.
Probably not. And then what they'll do is they'll switch you to a new one. And you'll have to play the same game over again, but it won't work as long. And you just don't get what you got when you first started with it. That is the classic patient that comes into our clinic. It will tell that story. I'm tired, I don't know why, and they'll tell me that story right there. And what I end up doing is I have to be really careful about how you quit taking this. Like, I don't even want the show to be about this.
No,
not taking it.
no.
You got to absolutely work with a doctor if you want to get off your meds, because otherwise you'll go into the worst depression you ever had in your entire life.
Very risky.
But just how we do it is we'll if we're going to do it is we'll cut the dose in half, and then we'll cut the dose in half, and then we'll cut the dose in half, the remainder, right? And then at that point we'll quit, or sometimes we cut the dose in half yet again, and then pull people off that way. Baby stepping it the whole way. And then also doing all these other things we talked about with the tryptophan or the 5-hydroxytryptophan. There's a bunch of cofactors.
Or the tyrosine.
We didn't mention tyrosine also. We didn't mention the fact that B6 and magnesium are cofactors in the conversion. They have to be there. Without the B6, it doesn't happen.
What is the magnesium a cofactor for? Conversion
For the whole process.
Of both dopamine and
Yeah,
serotonin?
same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not as important as the B6, but it's still important enough. So we got to make sure that everything's hunky-dory so they can actually do the conversion. And then you have to stimulate that conversion. If you just give people the building blocks, they won't necessarily make the neurotransmitter out of it unless they actually need it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to do some sort of engaging activity. Now, it's not always exercise. Mostly it is. Every once in a while, it's something else that you wouldn't hardly imagine. And you worked at a place before you came and worked here at this clinic where you did
transcranial magnetic stimulation.
That's right.
And we stimulated neuronal activity with magnets.
Yep.
And
So that's when I say, how do we get this thing to work? You have to jiggle people. That's one way you can jiggle people.
That is
with magnets.
Yeah,
and it works.
It works. It's effective. But again, for insurance to cover it, you have to have failed at least 3 SSRIs and 2 adjunct treatments.
Yep.
Yeah.
It turns out there's a business here in Fairbanks that does that. There's so many people who failed these.
There's actually a couple clinics now in Fairbanks.
2 clinics.
2 clinics in
Can
Fairbanks.
live on the
doing it.
failures of the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that interesting? That many people consistently fail, that there are 2 clinics that are,
And since I've worked there, I think that insurance coverage for it, the requirements has changed, has lessened with the amount of failures you need to have, but it is a very viable option for people who have not had success with their treatment-resistant depression.
So there is another thing. We cannot talk about serotonin without talking about serotonin syndrome. If your serotonin levels get too high, what you get is all the stuff you had with low serotonin, except for way more.
Amplified times a million.
I don't know, times a million. Times, I don't know, 20? A lot.
A lot.
Whatever it is, it's way a lot. And you can, the suffering and the depression is much more profound.
So you can over poison your system with
you
serotonin?
You can absolutely overshoot this thing and make a huge mess. And doctors are so gun shy now because they've done it so often that they really do not want to do this, so they're really careful about trying not to give people too much serotonin reuptake inhibitors, because you don't want to block the reuptake completely, because then you get serotonin syndrome.
That gives me a thought. It's curious if, addicts or people who are addicted to substances like caffeine, like drugs, like nicotine, like alcohol, do they get a mild version of serotonin syndrome when they're going through their DTs?
They can. I don't know if it's serotonin specifically.
Mm-hmm.
What's going with the DTs is what they're having is their the membranes of the neurons are leakier. It changes their membrane permeability to whatever the drug they're on, and their brain adapts to that drug, and that becomes the new normal. And when you remove the drug, then the membrane doesn't work correctly. Mostly what it does is it leaks. Sometimes it's too stiff, sometimes it's not stiff enough, depending on what the particular drug is. And so what you get is weirdness. The DTs are bad enough, you'll have hallucinations, because the brain will start making stuff up just because random neurons are firing in ways that normally they wouldn't. And so you get lots of suffering, lots of symptoms, lots of pain, lots of weirdness, and it's actually quite dangerous.
Yeah.
So it needs to be done in a medical situation where they can give you things that help mitigate the intensity of the symptoms. Not only just to make you more comfortable, but also to make it to where your brain doesn't just quit working. You get seizures and other kinds of things out of this. Again, that's a deeper show.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily
Curious.
go into that, but
Just popped into my head. Okay, so going back to our main conversation, what do you think the best ways to keep neurotransmitters active and healthy in your body are?
That's an excellent question. The answer is same way you keep anything else healthy in your body, What you need to do is you need to set up a regular pattern of living that promotes health. And that's going to involve you sleeping. So you need to sleep. That thing where you sleep when you're dead, don't do that. You got to sleep when you're alive and get a regular pattern of sleeping, because your body gives us a chance to heal and repair from whatever the trials and tribulations of the day bring. Number one, sleep. Number two is you need to eat food. All of these neurotransmitters are made out of other stuff. If you don't have that other stuff in your system, you can't make the neurotransmitters. This should be step number one in getting neurotransmitters to go up, is just taking the building blocks and then just doing things to kind of stimulate the body to make stuff out of it. We'd be able to solve 3/4 of people with mood problems just by doing that alone. Now, why don't we do that? Because there's no money in it.
Yeah.
The drug companies can't make any money in it because none of these are patentable. No. And so what they do is they make medications that they can patent, and they advertise the heck out of them. They go detail doctors. They take them to lunch. They do this. They do that. Right? They do all these things, and it's an industry built around doing these things.
Right.
So in order to make money. Now, the other things that you can't make any money, they work just as well, if not better. So there's that. So what you need to do is, let's go back to the top of the list. You need to sleep regularly. You need to eat regularly. You need to exercise. That is absolutely a linchpin with getting these neurotransmitters to go well. And again, when I say you have to put the building blocks in, and then you have to kind of shake the cocktail
around,
up, right? To get it to do whatever its chemistry.
To go to the right places that it needs to go.
And so what you need to do is you need to engage in engaging activities that challenge you as a human being, not overwhelming. And I give an example of dancing, square dancing, right? I mean, come on, who does square dancing? Though it's fabulous. Absolutely, it's amazing. If you do it, you'll blow your mind how wonderful it is and how happy you get from it and how much your body feels better. And it is, if I had to pick any one exercise, I'd pick square dancing as the number one exercise to help your mood come up. It is unbelievably effective. But short of that, who even does square dancing anyway, right? So you have to figure out what your interests are, what's available in your area, what kind of things you can do.
Yoga is very helpful.
The kind of things that you but you move your body and you go where other people are.
Yes.
Those are both.
Surround yourself in community. Connect with like-minded people. Being
with other people is a way to activate you and get your neurotransmitters to turn on, without a doubt. And you know that because you don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yep.
But when you do the scary things,
and you win. You do the scary thing and you come out with a win.
Yeah, I did it.
Now your neurotransmitters to turn on like crazy.
I peopled today, yes, and you can give yourself that gold star.
Yep, just like that. And that is what works. You really get down to it. Even if you're going to do all the drugs, you say, okay, Dr. Luper, thank you, but I still want to do all my drugs. Good. You still have to do everything I just said. And any doctor worth their salt is going to tell you the same thing. They're going to say you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to...
all of the basics, could you be to a point where you didn't need the drugs anymore?
Yeah,
Or the supplements?
Absolutely, routinely.
Yeah.
And not only that, the drugs are going to quit working at some point. I mean, they're not going to work forever. This is a temporary thing, just to get you over a rough spot, and you're having a tough relationship, and whatever your transition, and you're good for a year and a half, and then you're off. And that is the ideal way to use an SSRI, for example, is to use it short term like that. You're on, you feel better, you're back off again, now you put your life back together. There's a case to be made for doing that. It's actually quite effective. I wouldn't start there, though. It's really hard to get back off.
Yeah.
You got to be really careful to get back out from that, because you become dependent on it.
You have to work with your healthcare provider for it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Luper.
Hey, a pleasure, like always. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sensible Health Solutions. We hope you found today's discussion enlightening and packed with practical tips to enhance your wellness journey. Remember, small changes can lead to big results. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Stay connected with us on social media for more health insights and updates. You can find us at Sensible Health Solutions across all social platforms. Until next time, stay sensible and stay healthy. This content is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek medical advice from a healthcare professional for any medical conditions.